please stand and pledge allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. My normal speech, if you have a cell phone, please either mute it or turn it on. Thank you. Approval of treasury warrants. Payroll warrants for July 20th, 27th, August 3rd, and August 10th.
I move that we accept the treasurer's warrants for the 20th, the 27th, and August 3rd and 10th.
I'll second.
15.
All those in favor? Accounts payable warrants for July 24th, July 31st, August 7th, and August 14th.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Thank you, Bob. Approval of minutes for July 17th. Are there any corrections, omissions? Yes? Yeah.
So I did not go back and watch the video, but so maybe you guys remember this differently, but in, I guess it's on page 3 in section D, when we were talking about not having a planner, and it was under Alcoa section. The minutes say Kim Anderson suggested a subcommittee be formed to investigate the need for a planner, and my intention was a subcommittee to investigate what are we going to do to resolve our problems without a planner. The taxpayers don't want a planner, but we can't just sit here and do nothing.
So what would you like to say?
I think it should say, I suggest that we have a subcommittee to figure out how to deal with the lack of a planner. Who's going to do the job that's not getting done?
Okay. Anything else? Can I have a motion to accept with corrections?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Thank you. We have no special presentations, we have no committee appointments, no public hearings. The public comment on non-agenda items. At each regular select board meeting, there'll be time devoted to any resident or taxpayer of the town of Wiscasset to address the selectmen regarding any item that is not on the agenda for that meeting. Comments will be limited to 5 minutes per person, 30-minute maximum. Is there any public comment? Oh, Susan.
Fancy finding me here.
Yes. Go for it.
3 quick comments. First of all, thank you to Doug Fowler for the prompt attention to the weird lamp standard on High Street. The new one or the remade one, whatever it is, looks great. I just want to thank him. Secondly, I understand that MDOT is saying that they will not plant trees along Main Street. Nuts. Either leave the trees that are already there and build around them, or else plant new trees of the type that do not live in bricks. Other towns and cities seem to be able to do this. For instance, Bath, Portland, and Brunswick. Come on, people. I hope the selectmen will not sign off without this being addressed. Finally, a matter of principle. A recent article in the Wiscasset newspaper reported that since the selectmen have withdrawn from the injunction requiring MDOT to comply with the town's historic commission ordinance, the state will be going ahead with the demolition of a building in the Wiscasset Historic District included in the National Register. My quarrel is not with the proposed parking lot or with the proposed MDOT project more generally. By law, anyone who wishes to demolish a building located in the historic district must come before the Historic Commission of the town. I am dismayed by the apparent attitude of the selectmen that enforcement of the law is optional. This board's members took an oath when they were sworn in that they would uphold the law. If they do not uphold this law, they cannot, in good faith, enforce other laws. I've never before had to say that I was ashamed to be a citizen of Wiscasset.
Thank you, Susan. Anyone else? Oh, wait a minute. First, I have the gentleman back there, red shirt. pleasure. He was first to put up his hand.
Is this thing working?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I can't hear good, is it? In the same letter that we wrote to Stan Walls, that was resulted in the,
Excuse me, may I have your name, please?
oh, I'm sorry, Tom Bryant, resident of Wiscasset.
Thank you.
In the same letter that we wrote to Stan Walls regarding the licensing of the fireworks and so on, we also brought up the issue of some Connex boxes located on our driveway, near our driveway. And Mr. Walls, before he resigned, had looked into that issue and determined that a site plan review and a building permit were required for those Connex boxes. And he agreed, told me before he left that he was planning to enforce that requirement for Mr. Corn to get a site plan review and a building permit for those Connex boxes. Now that we no longer have a code enforcement officer, how will that requirement get enforced?
Well, we now have a new code enforcement officer
Oh.
who has started, and so we will give that job over to him.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Steve?
Steve Christensen. I just got a couple of observations of downtown. The parking lot on Middle Street, behind in the Clover, they've got a utility trailer parked there. This is the 4th week that it's been there. It was there 4 weeks, it was there a few weeks ago for another 4 weeks. It's just sitting there. It's a parking lot, not a storage lot. And
Who does the trailer belong to?
I believe it belongs to, I've been told it belongs to a tenant that's downtown.
Okay.
It's not even in a parking space.
That's true. And another thing that I've seen downtown that's been bugging me for quite a while, down on, I believe it's 51 Water Street, which is right up from Red Z's. It's a sidewalk. And whoever has the business there has got 3 tables that sit there 24/7. I go by there every single day, and they've just been sitting there with tarps over them. My point is this, you know, it's a sidewalk.
Right.
You know, and so if that means everybody in town has a sidewalk in front of the house, you want to just put a table out there and leave it there around the clock, it just doesn't look good. I don't even know what is underneath the taps. It's not my business to go and look. But it's just it's an observation that I've made. Feel free to go down there and look, because it stays there all the time.
Is it a table, and are they selling things? Is that what?
Well, I believe, and I believe there's an antique or knick-knack shop or something, and I thought Roland's Barber Shop. That's what it was when I was a kid, but whatever it is now. But there's just something, there's 3 tables up there, and this morning there's 3 tables are still there, along with 2 chairs. I mean, it just looks like, it doesn't look well.
Okay, all right.
So I don't know what we do, but again, it's in a sidewalk. So, I mean, it tells me that if you just want to put stuff in the sidewalk and leave it, it's okay, and I don't think it is.
All right. Well, we got 2 more jobs for the code enforcement officer.
Can I ask?
Yes.
Steve, did you happen to get is there a license plate, a trailer license plate on this thing that's parked?
Oh, yeah.
Why didn't you write the number down for us?
I have been to the police department,
Oh, okay.
and no exaggeration, at least a dozen times, with the trailer number, plate number, and he's not here to defend himself, but the police chief, when I gave it to him, lying, before he left, he comes back to me the next day, and he says, well, the trailer's not stolen. I didn't ask if the trailer was stolen. I said, I asked what it was doing there. You know, I didn't care if it was stolen or not. It's still sitting there. It's got, I don't know what's in it. It looks like house goods, and there's a bunch of, it's not garbage, but there's a bunch
Maybe
of
stuff that
rags,
didn't
something.
fit
I
in
mean,
your
it just doesn't hold well. I
So-
mean, we need parking, and I understand that. But when you're using it as a storage lot versus a parking lot, you know, that's, we're going a little bit too far.
Okay, we'll follow up on that. Thank you,
Thanks.
Steve. Yes, Al? Sorry, Pam, you're next.
I don't
Go
want to.
ahead, no,
Go.
go ahead.
Please don't fight. I mean, you're on the side.
We're just polite.
You gotta stop.
One quick question, is our police department operating?
Yes, it is.
Because I saw all the cruisers sitting there today, and I was just
It's at a
concerned.
limited basis at this point. I think I can explain it hopefully
sure.
correctly. We have one of our officers on duty from 7 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon. And then from 4 in the afternoon till 7 in the morning during the week, we rely on Lincoln County. On the weekends, we utilize our 5 reserve officers. That is how we're being taken care of as of this point.
That was my
Until
question.
we hire a chief and new officers are hired, this is what we have to do to keep the town covered.
Thank you. In response to Mr. Bryant's question, this is old news because last year, the town's attorney contacted my attorney about the Connex boxes. And the answer was they're all over town, and I'll be happy to go to the planning board and get a permit. I'm not gonna be the first one. There's in excess of 30 of them in town, and none of them have been before the planning board. If that's what the town wants to do, I'm happy to come, but I won't be the only one to come. There's 30 or 35 around town. I've counted 30, so.
You said you received a letter from.
I didn't receive a letter. I received the town, Brian's attorney contacted the town's attorney, who in turn contacted my attorney during this whole legal suit, which went to the Supreme Court twice and then lost twice. So we're just rehashing old news if we want to
Do we
start
have,
again.
do we have a record of that?
We do.
Okay, then it's old news. Thank you
It
very much.
is. I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you.
Yes, Pam, you're next.
Now that, couple of things. Now that we have a code enforcer, can we get the fence on Route 1 cleaned up? Yeah.
We'll try.
And also, in advance of the holiday season coming, I would just like to point out that I am one among many who would appreciate the lights in town being uniformly white. On another note, that's just saying that I think that that's something that looks, period, to our village. On a more serious note, can you tell me who, at this point, the police department reports to?
Of course, the town manager.
Great. Okay, so, right now, the town manager's salary is higher than the governor's right now. You're aware of that. And also, she just got a 3-day weekend because we are no longer open on Fridays. So there are many days, months that end on Fridays. So we're gonna have the same issue that Al brought up a couple of weeks ago. But you guys didn't even let us know that at that time that you knew that you were gonna close on that Friday. So that's just another issue. But my serious issue is regarding the police departments, which I know, I'm pretty sure that people are kind of working on demising dissolving the police department. The sheriff's department doesn't want to take on Wiscasset. It's going to cost Wiscasset more money to have it taken over by the sheriff's department. And I think that's something the town needs to know. More than 3 weeks ago, there was an incident involving a cyclist and a car, and the driver threatened the cyclist, then turned and held a gun to his head. An officer was called to the cyclist's home and evidence was handed over. Since that day, there has not been any official update on this act of violence. Somebody almost had to go to a wake, and nothing has been done, and there has been no update, and there has been no report, and there has been no arrest. This person is sitting in their home, and they are not at Two Bridges Jail. They are free to go do this to another cyclist who is basically vulnerable in their underwear out on a bike. Where's the accountability? Tell me in this room why this person, the one who held a gun to the cyclist's head, probably as defenseless as a child in their pajamas, Why have they not been taken to Two Bridges Jail? If this town doesn't amp up the police force, there will be chaos, and so far that is chaos. When a gun is held to a person's head and there's no accountability and no report and no follow-up, and this person is free to walk the streets, while the other person had a very disturbing thing and traumatic event. If each one of you had had this happen, I don't think 3 weeks there would have been a delay. So I'm just appalled at the lack of responsibility and the accountability. And it's a pity that this has to be brought to the attention, that I have to come here and raise hell because a Wiscasset citizen was held at gunpoint by another Wiscasset citizen and nothing was done. What's going to be done? Marion, the police department reports to you. Were you made aware of this situation?
I will follow up on it. No, I was not aware of it, but I will follow up on it.
We have part-time police officers that can only write reports when they're back on their part-time. They can't do it any other time. We have one full-time police officer. Lincoln County just announced that they hired 3 deputies. Let's get the ones who were not hired and get their applications and start hiring people. This is a town that needs a police force.
Well, Pam, we are interviewing for the chief tomorrow. Bob and I and Mary we have chiefs applicants that are coming in, and the officers are next on the list. It's a process that we have to go through. And I was not aware of this, that this happened. And again, if it did happen, I am appalled also, because I don't think it should happen in our town. I hate to keep saying it, it's a slow process that we have to go through.
A slow process shouldn't involve somebody saying, somebody held a gun to my head, I have evidence, video, picture, go to the person's house, get him in jail.
Well, we will look into it and find out why it hasn't been followed through.
Because I think if that happened to any of you, you'd be raising hell. I'm raising hell. I'm raising hell. That's 3 weeks, more than 3 weeks, and this person's been free to go do it again to somebody else. Do we want another death in Wiscasset? I don't think so, and I don't want to go to a wake, and I don't want to go to a funeral.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Jean Grady Flynn, Chairman of the Wiscasset Area Chamber of Commerce. Marion, I just wanted to check and see if you were going to bring up about the email I sent you during your part, or if I should.
I was, but feel free. They'd rather hear it from you than me anyway. Do you need a copy? I have it with me.
No, I brought it, thanks.
No, feel free, really. Thank you.
As the Wiscasset Area Chamber of Commerce, we're hoping to, if I'm not mistaken, the Public Advisory Committee was disbanded.
It hasn't as of yet.
Okay.
They are still official advisory committee at this point.
I'd like to encourage you and the Select Board to support establishing a new public committee to act as a liaison between the town and the DOT during the construction project. The committee would focus on communications and marketing and carry out activities that would clearly and creatively inform the public, visitors, and travelers about the downtown project and encourage people to continue to visit, enjoy, shop, and dine in Wiscasset. And we'd be happy to work with you in the Select Board, as I'm sure Mary Ellen would be, to establish this committee, and perhaps with some downtown merchants, chamber members, non-members, to property owners, to work together in a positive direction.
Thank you very much. Yes, Kim?
I wanted to say something about the ambulance, but in reference to the last comment, if you do choose to set up some sort of interim committee, I hope that this time around that you will include members of the business community that are actually downtown. Some of those who were at odds with MDOT, not just those who were in favor of the project. But what I wanted to say tonight was 2 or 3 weeks ago, there was a letter to the editor in the Wiscasset newspaper. A gentleman wrote asking that the select board take it upon yourselves to make a decision about how to proceed with the ambulance service for Wiscasset. And it was a very well-written letter. He suggested that because it would be you that meet with different services, you would know better than anyone else what is the best course for the town. And what you've decided to do was to take it to the people in November. And while I appreciate that you want input from the town, I would ask you to reconsider and possibly have a town meeting of some, wrong word, a public hearing of some sort to get feedback from those who wish to give it to you. But that ultimately, we hired you to do more than just sit in these seats twice a month. We hired you to make certain decisions for the town. And I think this is one of those decisions that the people would be happy to trust you to make. And I'm sure they would be thrilled to give input at a public hearing if need be, but I hope you'll reconsider and instead of putting that out to a vote, make that decision for the town.
Thank you, Cass. Anyone else in the public comment? Yes, ma'am.
Hey guys, at the risk of being like...
May I have your name, please?
Sorry, Leslie Roberts, Wiscasset resident. I understand that a few of you folks went to meet with the DOT some weeks ago. I'm not really sure, I don't remember the date. And I don't know exactly what the agenda was. The only thing I saw in the papers after the meeting was mention of the Haggett garage going down. But to what Susan also said, I'm really concerned about the trees, our losing the trees on Main Street. I don't know if that was part of the conversation with MDOT. I don't understand why, if the PAC is still together and they haven't presented their final written recommendations to you guys, and trees are part of that written recommendation, how MDOT made the decision without your guidance to remove trees from the plan. So I'm hoping maybe when you had that meeting that you were able to move the needle and maybe they're reconsidering the trees.
I don't believe trees was part of the conversation that we had. I don't believe, if I remember back then. We discussed several issues.
We discussed it a little bit. It seems to me what they said was if we want to do something, we better make our minds up pretty fast.
Right, before they do the sidewalk. You are correct, before they start the sidewalk.
What do we need to do to help with that decision, to help move it forward, to help get it, committed?
Well, I personally would like to see what the PAC committee has, what their recommendations are. I mean, we gave them that authority, and they have not presented it to us. At that point in time, if I'm not mistaken, the way the PAC committee was done is that we take their points of view under advisement. That doesn't mean it's granite, it's in stone. We as a board can change anything we want. But I think that any decision on trees or lamps or lights or whatever, I think needs to wait until we get that from the PAC committee.
So the last time I was at a PAC meeting, and I think there was one recently that wasn't on the calendars maybe, the last meeting I attended, which felt like about a month or more ago, they said they were working on their written recommendations. They were going to be finalized and presented to you guys. So I don't understand what the delay is.
I don't know what the delay is, but what I understand, if I'm not mistaken.
Two members, right?
That's true.
Yes, please.
We have I think the meeting you're talking about, I gotta look at my book, see when I was there. But we met, I believe, on the 6th of August, and that meeting was strictly to go over the items that we wanted to put in this final report that will be presented to the Board of Selectmen. And we have another meeting to finalize it Monday evening here at 5 o'clock. And I believe on Tuesday night, Selectmen's meeting is when that report will be presented.
So which Tuesday?
The 21st?
The 21st is our next, the Board of Selectmen's meeting, which is Tuesday the 21st. The PAC has a meeting at 5 o'clock on Monday the 20th, and that's when this whole report will be finalized. It's been worked on for the last quite a bit.
So I understand, I mean, the PAC had, from what I remember, they had said they were divided, some were for, some were against trees, but they're going to leave the ultimate decision to the select board.
That may
That
still
was
be the case.
what was in my
I don't want to say it is, I just, and I know.
That's why I keep saying we need to wait until we get
Yeah, it
the
will be
information
good.
from the PAC.
Do we have enough time? Will MDOT give us the next few weeks?
I don't think we're gonna have to worry about sidewalks right now. That's my opinion. They're still working on Railroad Avenue, and until they start Main Street, I think that's when we're gonna have to really deal with it. And depending, I mean, it's what, almost September? Main Street might not be getting done until the spring. We don't know.
Right.
So we do have the time. And once we do make a decision, the board makes a decision as to what they want, then we can coordinate it with MDOT and Pike, and they can with Pike Industries. But that's how I'm looking at it right now. I don't think it's a decision that needs to be made right this moment.
When I emailed Ernie 2 months ago about the trees, he had said they are absolutely, completely out of the plan. So I'm hoping that you guys will be able to.
Well, if they are completely out, if MDOT says they're completely out of the plan, then that's something that the board is going to have to make another type of decision as to how, if we are going to have trees, how they're going to be paid for, and we're going to have to budget for them. Those are things, until we get a final decision from MDOT, we don't know.
Okay. Okay, thanks, guys. Appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Katie Bryan, Wiscasset resident. Just a very quick correction for the record about the Connex boxes. Stan, very shortly before he was through here, he went to a seminar and he learned that he had been mistaken earlier and that the boxes did require a permit and a site plan review. They're not in line, they're not the same as these other 30 boxes. And he told us that he was going to enforce that. So that was very shortly before he left, and so it's not really old news. It was new news.
All right, thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay, let us go on. Department head or committee chair. We have the Public Safety Advisory Council annual report.
You have in your packet the report that was submitted by Colleen Jones, who's the chair of the Public Safety Advisory Council. There's no action required. Just wanted to bring to your attention the work that they had done. At the present time, the council is on hiatus until we have our leadership team back in order to work with these folks. So this is their report that they wanted to submit to you until that time.
Thank you. Okay, unfinished business. Update on that sunken boat. No, I gotta talk to the lady again.
So you have in your packet a copy of the summons that was provided to Christopher Morrison, who is the owner of the boat. There's no action required by the board. It's just wanted you to see that those steps have been taken, and there is a hearing scheduled for October 25th at 8:30 in the morning.
And where is the High Street courthouse?
Yes.
Okay.
It'll be district court, I'm sure.
Okay. Yes, Steve?
I just got a question. What is the summons? What is he being summoned for?
Littering.
Littering.
More than 15 pounds.
Littering.
Yes, sir. That's
Wow.
what it says.
Okay. Okay. It is littering.
Yes, it is.
I know that the warden worked with the district attorney, so I know they have a plan, but I haven't been privy to those conversations, so they just shared this with us. I believe this is their first step in their process.
If I could just add, I recall that it was said that the district attorney would be looking for restitution if a conviction was made. And I think that's probably part of the overall plan.
Okay.
And that may be the reason for writing the summons in this particular way.
No, I know that everything, all journeys should begin with that first step, so I was just more curious on what the summons was.
Thank you.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Just a moment. Catherine had.
Well, I was going to say, but I think sometimes there are different statutes that apply to different offenses, and I think they probably chose littering because it's a little bit, I think we're going to have a better shot at
Or so
getting
there's some
restitution
merit to
in
it,
the
yes.
district
Yeah.
court.
It's
Then
got
they
to
make
do with the
it.
restitution.
Yeah, so I think as Marion said, they have a plan.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, I'm sorry. So, and to Steve's point too, you know, I mean, this is a really serious offense, and if one person gets away with it, people will come and dump their old boats in our harbor like nobody's business, so we've got to get this figured out so no one ever does this again. It's a terrible.
I agree with you. That's why I've made phone calls all over the
Thank
state
you.
regarding it. But I don't want the taxpayers to be the burden to take care of this. I want this gentleman to take responsibility. Okay. Next thing on the agenda, approval of application for the annual license for sale of consumer fireworks and to set a fee.
So you're having for you another draft, based on your comments from last time. You notice that it adds the state license number and a place for the code enforcement officer to sign. I would just remind the board that this conversation this evening is strictly related to the design of the application and whether or not you want to charge a fee. Any process that goes along with this will follow the town's land use ordinance. So we did add a place for the state license number, and in parentheses, it says please include a copy of the state license. And so if you have any other information that you'd like added, this is your chance. And as far as the fee, I called several towns, and a lot of towns had no fee. Some had a nominal fee. Some don't even require an annual license. So it's a case of whatever you would like to do.
Catherine?
Well, I think that we obviously get property taxes from this type of thing and whatever else we, get from businesses in addition to property taxes. So I don't know, I don't think we really need a fee, do we? I don't know, I'm just throwing that out there.
I would remind the board that we do send out business licenses to be renewed, and we don't charge a fee for that.
Okay, well, that's what I thought.
I have no problem not having the license. Yes, ma'am.
Katie Bryan again. I'm just concerned that any points that aren't on this draft, that aren't on the application, could be missed by the selectmen. For example, the ordinance does say, a public hearing shall be held for the first annual application and may be held for renewal applications. So what procedure would the town have to make sure that that's done, the public hearing?
We did do a public hearing, if I'm not mistaken. I think I was on the board when this happened. We did a public hearing when Al came before us the first time. I personally don't feel that we need to have one every year. We don't ask our businesses to have a public hearing, and he is a business.
Well, it's for the first application.
Well, he already filled one out, how many years ago?
No.
6 years ago.
6 years ago.
I thought it was just being developed now.
No, this is a renewal. He's renewing his license, if I'm not mistaken.
So there is an original?
Yes, there
Because
should
we
be on
asked-
file here in the town.
We asked about that and we,
Well, I
It
think
was
so.
our
We'll
impression
we'll
that
have to
there-
look for it, but there is one, if I'm not mistaken, and I think Ed was on the board back then too, if I'm not mistaken, that we had the public hearing, and there is one on file. And he'd have to have, for the town to be able to give him a license to do this, he's already had to go to the federal, and he's had to go through the state.
okay, well, not just for Al, but just in general for your draft, a public hearing is supposed to be held for the first application. So I'm just wondering if you'd want to cover that in your,
If somebody else comes into town and wants to open up a fireworks store, they will have to come to a public hearing, have to fill out the application, and they will have to have a public hearing, because that is the first time. But I'm not going to speak for the rest of the board, but my opinion is I don't feel that we need to have a public hearing every year, as long as his federal, state license are renewed and they are certified by the federal government and the state. That's my opinion. Yes, Bob?
I thought, in the discussion we had before on this, that having the code enforcement officer sign off on this took care of some of these issues, because the code enforcement officer should be aware of the applicable ordinances, and by signing off on this, that would be an indication that the ordinance had been followed.
That's
I mean,
correct.
obviously, I can't quote from the ordinance, I'm not gonna try, but he would be able to.
Yeah, I believe you're correct. That's why we put down here for him to sign it. And we had requested that the state license number be on there. So what is the board's pleasure? Do you want to accept this? Do you want to charge a fee?
Do we have to take action? Do we need a motion?
I need something from somebody.
I make a motion that we accept this draft as written. Do not charge a fee.
Second.
Any more discussion from the board?
Well, I was going to point out that we have junkyards, and they have to apply for a license every year, and they have to pay a fee. And for that matter, we hold liquor licenses all the time for people with valves, and they have to pay. It's not one and done forever. And there are a lot of things that have to pay annual fees.
That's,
If nothing else, to cover the clerical work or publication duties.
Is there a fee for the liquor license? I mean, I know what the junkyard license is.
Maybe that's at the state level.
It's the state level for liquor.
It's a state license, I think, for liquor.
what is the junkyard fee?
$100.
$100. Well, do you want to make it consistent with the junkyard?
Well, I'm not sure it is considered, there must be examples of some other licenses that the town gives out. I mean, a special amusement license, the liquor license has been mentioned.
Well, I kind of agree with Catherine. I mean, they pay property tax. It's not, I don't feel, nothing against Mr. Cohen, but I don't think somebody else is going to come in here and open up a fireworks store. I think he's pretty well got this for the town. But I kind of agree, no fee. Just, he must have to pay for federal, he must have to pay a state fee. And he is bringing people into town. They may not necessarily just stop at his store, they might end up stopping at one of the restaurants, or they might go downtown. So I mean, he's like any other business that's bringing business into this town.
I'm not comfortable with making up some amount that we pluck out of the sky. And the reason I thought no fee was because you said that other business licenses are renewed without a fee. But if we're gonna talk about setting a fee schedule, then I'm gonna need some support.
Well, if we do it for one business, we're gonna have to do it for all.
Yeah, and I don't wanna just sit at this table and guess at it. I would like to think about it and make an informed decision. I would want some research done.
Al, you have something?
My question was, do we charge restaurants and retail stores a fee when they file their annual license?
No.
No, we do not.
Other than junkyards?
That's why I'm saying if we charge,
That was the only point I was raising.
if we charge one
And if there's a
business,
fee,
we're gonna
it should
have
be,
to charge
you
them
know,
all.
whatever the fee is for everybody, basically.
Right, and if the other businesses are zero, junkyards are, I mean, you've got like, I don't know, I guess special considerations with the environment. Maybe there's some reason there's a fee, but if the other retail establishments are not charging the fee, why would fireworks be different?
Well, I was just gonna ask, why are junkyards singled out there? Is it the
Oh,
only
we're
thing?
opening up Pandora's box.
That's
This is around the full enforcement officer you got.
Okay.
An asshole.
We're gonna be the fee
A
capital.
realistic question, no, I'm not trying to joke about this now, but how much effort does the code enforcement officer have to put into making sure that this is, I mean, is it,
I wouldn't think it'd be much, I mean.
well, I wouldn't either, but I just wanted to know.
I'll speak for Bruce just because he's only been here 2 weeks. I don't want to throw him under the bus, but I don't expect that it would be any more of a review than for someone who applied for a building permit or a septic permit or anything else. And remember, the ordinance really narrows the scope of what the Board of Selectmen look at to grant the license. And that's right at the top of that application. That language is right out of the ordinance that says that the Board of Selectmen shall issue if they find, and then it lists the following. And that verbiage is right out of the
But
ordinance.
we're not talking the scope here, we're talking the price.
No, but I'm saying that gives an idea of the amount of work, you know, the code officer would just review like they would any other permit. That's my point then.
And I'm assuming that if something happens between now and next year, that a Class A, B, or C crime is committed, he would not get a state license. So that would be the end of it, right there. Anyone?
What do we have to hold a public hearing on this?
No, no.
Or for the original one, do we have to hold a public hearing?
We did. When he first applied, if let's say John Smith decides to come into town and he wants to open up another fireworks store, he would have to go through the same process that Mr. Cohen did 6 years ago. And we as a town would have to have a public meeting, public hearing, which we did for Mr. Cohen. But for him to renew his license, we do not have to have a public hearing.
But if somebody knew his, we would.
If somebody knew, yes, because that's part of the ordinance. Somebody knew.
Okay, we're discussing that.
Right.
It would seem to be, at least for an original application,
Right.
they should at least have to pay a nominal fee to pay for publishing costs, for advertising in the newspapers and stuff. There's no reason the townspeople should pay for that.
I could go with that.
Okay.
Initially, someone coming in,
The first time.
but not a application.
Well, those are the things we're here to hammer out. But if we're gonna hold a public hearing, then it's reasonable they pay those costs.
But that would have to change the order, we'd have to change the ordinance to include that, correct?
No, you have the authority to set the fee.
But does that not have to be part of the ordinance that a new business in town dealing with the fireworks would have to have a fee?
No, you can set the fee. It doesn't have to be in the
Employee
ordinance.
fees back there?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I could go with a fee for a new coming in, public hearing and the fee to do all the paperwork. I could do that, but not a yearly revamp. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have to have a public hearing for a new liquor license? And then do you charge a fee for that?
Yes, we do.
And we charge a fee for that?
Yes, we do.
All right, so all of you opposed making it the same as that?
Right.
They pay the advertising costs.
Just
And that's how we say, we don't set an amount, we just say that they're responsible for the advertising costs. Because the newspapers, those two ladies right there change their fees all the time. So we don't say an amount, so.
I'm going to wait for the manager if she wants to look and see what we normally charge for such things.
Yeah,
I think that should be included.
Okay.
Or you could just say that they're responsible for the advertising costs. I mean, I know right now, I think it's around $45 to advertise, but I don't know that you'd want to set that price, because if next year the advertising cost goes up, you don't collect that.
Right.
You know, perhaps there's a way to wordsmith it so that they cover any costs, to include advertising.
And then we should maybe put it on here that they pay whatever cost associated with the application.
Okay. Add that to it.
So should we
Responsible
amend the motion?
for advertising.
So the applicant will be responsible for any costs associated with the application.
Yes.
So do you want me to change the motion to include that?
Just make a friendly amendment if you would.
Yes,
Yes,
please.
yes, an amendment to my original motion.
Just a moment. Yes, sir. Please come up.
A while back, we did ask for a copy of Mr. Cohen's.
Could you speak up a little bit, please?
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
A while back, we did ask for a copy of Mr. Cohen's license, and we were told at the time that there wasn't one. And that they had never had an application, so therefore there couldn't have been a license. So we believe he does not have currently a license from the town of Wiscasset, and we believe that a public hearing should be held for the first, at least for the first application, which I believe he has not yet made. He's right on that, but we were told he did not yet have a license.
Thank you. We will check into that. I'm sure he has a license. And we have,
We can have that next Tuesday night then.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, if it was when Ed and Judy were on the board, I mean, I can look through.
if I'm not mistaken, Ed, you were on the board at that time, or you're not? Yes.
I can look through the minutes and find it, sure.
Yes.
that really doesn't matter as far as accepting this, though.
No,
I mean, that
it has
would be-
nothing to do with
okay,
this.
All right.
No. That's a whole separate issue in this. So do you want to amend your amendment?
We could just start all over again.
Okay.
And say that I make a motion that we accept this draft with the, whatever it was you wrote.
It was,
The applicant will be responsible for all costs associated with the application.
Yes.
okay.
And we're going to add that little line on to the
And that would be
application.
on, that would
It
be
says
on
it.
that.
Very good.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay.
Sorry.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Okay, new business, bid openings, tax anticipation note. This is SIS, the bank that listens.
What is it? SIS.
That's what it said.
Is it Sanford?
Sanford Institution of Savings.
Oh, no, would have gotten it.
Okay, well, it just says SIS Bank.
Yeah.
Okay, option one. Purchase up to $1,347,000 in a TAN, interest of 1.3%. Lump sum, that was as need basis, lump sum for $3 million, 3.69%.
Did you say it was 1.3%? 347 at 1 point, hold on, no, I don't need that. But there was two different amounts, right?
$1,347,000.
And then a lump sum of 3 million?
Yes.
Isn't that quite a difference?
Well, the 1.3 million is as need basis,
Yep.
And the 3 million is of what?
a lump sum.
There's option 1 and option 2. There were 2 options.
Well, okay, I'm looking at it, it implies that one of these says it's gonna take 1.3 to get through the year, and one says it's gonna take 3 million. I don't understand where these numbers are coming from.
Well, this one here is completely different numbers.
Oh, good.
It's only the first of the whole.
Okay, this is
pile of
Kennebec
bonds.
Savings Bank.
Kennebec savings?
Yes, this is for the $1,347,000. On an as-needed basis, 3.49%. On a lump sum of $1,347,000, it is 3.49%. They're the same. That is Kennebec. Okay, Camden National. On an as-needed basis, the $1,347,000, 2.87%. On the lump sum of $3 million, it is 2.87%. This is the first. On the as-needed basis, for $1,347,000, 2.70%. On the lump sum of $1,347,000, 2.70%. That's First National. That's the first. Machias Savings. On an as-needed basis for the $1,347,000, 2.49%. Lump sum of $1,347,000, 2.49%. That is Machias. Bath Savings. On the 1 million, as needed basis, $1,347,000, 2.54%. On the lump sum of $3 million, it is 2.54%. That's Bath Savings. Skowhegan Savings. Okay, on lump sum, as needed, for $1,347,000, 3.45%. Lump sum of $1,347,000, 3.45%. That is Skowhegan. I'll make a motion to authorize the town manager and to review the bids and award than tax anticipation note bid to the lowest qualified bidder. Yes, Bob?
Could I ask you to go back to that first one? The SIS.
SIS, yes, sir.
I was writing these down, I may have misunderstood.
The 1,347,000 as needed is 1.3%. Lump sum of 3 million is 3.69%.
That's the only one that had the.
But it says in here, the SIS bank offers to purchase up to 1,347,000 in a TAN from the town of Wiscasset to be repaid with interest of WSJP, whatever that means, 1.3% per annum calculated on 360-day basis. I don't understand what the WSJP is.
And we're only gonna do 1.347, we're not doing $3 million.
Well, it just seemed like that was right off the chart. The rest of them are all 2 point something, some 3 point something, then 1.3%.
But that's what does that mean?
Less than 1.3, so.
The interest of,
So it's gonna be the standard rate, less 1.3 per annum.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
so it's not 1.3%.
No.
Okay. They don't make that very clear.
It's bankers talk.
Judy,
Yes,
is this only the town manager to review? Take out the second town manager?
That
that's,
should be treasurer.
oh, I'm sorry, town treasurer, town manager and town treasurer.
Can I just ask a question? Can we not borrow money from ourselves, from our investment funds, and pay ourselves back with no or lower interest? Is that an option? I'm just curious why we're gonna borrow money and pay interest.
I believe we have done that in the past. It requires a town meeting vote to do that. Similar to when you took the 2 million out for the RSU withdrawal. So that is an option, but you would have to have a town meeting warrant article to authorize that.
I feel like we should plan for that for next year. If we do a TAN every year, we're paying, I'm not smart enough to figure out what the interest is after 365 days. I don't have time to do that right now, but it's a lot. You know, we're talking at least $45,000 on this amount, maybe more,
No.
probably more, depending on how they accrue
Closer
it.
to 17,000.
Yes. Well, I think that's something
It's
that we
still
can discuss during budget time.
whatever the amount of money is when we have, for another time, like, can we plan for it for next year? I would like us to not have to borrow money every year when we have.
Well, traditionally, we've
$15 million
gotten a lot more interest on our reserve money than we've had to pay to borrow.
Correct.
So there's a clear savings by doing it this way.
If that's the case, I mean, is that always gonna, I don't know, it just seems like there must
I
be
think
some
that-
way we could plan
I
better.
think you're right, I think that's why we do the TAN, instead of taking it from our investment.
Because we're losing all that.
We're losing interest.
We've been 5-6% on the reserve money, but, being able to borrow for 2.5%, it just makes sense, especially when we can do it as needed. So we don't have to borrow a bunch of money and then have it laying around.
Okay.
I think, progress to this, from doing it one way to another way, to finally doing it this way, and it made sense to do it this way.
Yeah, well, we've been doing this way for 50, 60 years. Not that you can't change, but I mean, for the reasons you just stated.
It just seems like if we know we're gonna have to borrow money every year, I don't know. I feel like we should be able to plan better. Like if I ran my house like that, it would be a disaster, I don't know.
Seriously, I think that you would find that virtually every town in the state of Maine takes out a tax anticipation note. It's simply the way the process works.
If I had my way, we wouldn't have to do it at all, if we could get ourselves straightened around.
Yeah, like if we could build up a reserve or something, right? If we had a carryover, I just think that
As Bernice isn't here, but I think I'll use her famous wording, it's a cash flow problem. because of the way that the taxes come in and the bills have to go out. So it's like a savings account. That's how I look at it. That we might not have to necessarily use it, but it's there in case we do. Am I correct?
And typically, we only do an as-needed basis. We don't withdraw the entire amount. Last year, we did not use the entire amount, so.
So I think I've made a motion. Has anybody seconded?
I'll second it. It's not a question, it's a comment.
I think
They're going to award it, but I would like to have an explanation of the difference between the
Yeah.
1.3 and
Right.
3 million. That's quite a stretch.
We'll review them and report back to you Tuesday.
I mean, I have all the faith in the world in Bernice, I just want to understand why that is the
Because we
case.
did not want 3 million. We only wanted the 1.3. Okay. All right, so Ben seconded?
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor of the tan? 5-0. Thank you. Quitclaim deed, Bruce C. and Mary Ellen Ingrid and Aaron and Sarah Morse.
Madam Chair, I move that we give these back to the town manager's office to be redone. These things are just loading with mistakes,
Okay.
particularly the second one. Morse Allen one.
All right.
On the back page, it says Sherry Fredetta is the treasurer of June 13th, which question was.
No, that's just for an example to show that it was for a sewer event. That's not, you're signing the quitclaim deed. That, I provided those for the source document.
Well, okay, it was quite misleading.
I'm sorry.
Well,
I was trying to make sure you had the information that you needed to show that the discharges for whatever reason were not completed. And so that's why you have to do a quitclaim deed, so.
I don't have any problem with the quitclaim deed, it was just, all of that stuff.
Yes.
I didn't understand it, and I still don't understand it, but it's okay. But on the first one, it only lists 4 selectmen. Oh, I'm sorry, there it is on the other side. I'll take that one back. All right.
Do you still have a problem?
Well, I don't appreciate it being presented that way, but if we're only going with the front page, I guess it's all right. I mean, let me ask, are they gonna see any of this?
No, that's for the board's, that's just for your information to show you that they were for undischarged sewer liens. And for what, they were for 2015 and 2016. It was not meant to be confusing, and I apologize for that. I was trying to provide the history with it, so.
We have a motion?
No.
Okay, I make a motion to sign the quitclaim deeds of Bruce C. and Mary Ellen Ingrid and Aaron and Sarah Morse. Do you have a second?
I'll second
All those in favor? 5-0. Thank you. Okay, FAA grant offer for airport improvement project number 3-23-0049-020-2018 for airport development or noise program implementation. A maximum FAA obligation under this grant is $34,200.
So this is probably a case of giving you more information than you wanted again. But this is, as you know, part of the process that we're going through through the negotiations that we have. One of the things that we have agreed to do is to put some noise mitigation in place to be better neighbors to the campground and those that live nearby. And so this is part of that grant process. And so and this language for the motion is what the FAA requires with the big, long project number that Judy read to authorize this grant agreement. And we are, in the present time, still negotiating with the campground to finalize the details, and we anticipate an amicable resolution.
Oh, I thought we already had one.
Well, we still have to get the FAA to sign off, and that's part of the process, but the parties are negotiating very well.
Bob?
Just two questions. This noise program implementation, is that like signage?
There's going to be signage, and I'm not exactly sure what they're going to install to mitigate the noise of the planes, but I don't know if they're soundboards, Bob, I'm not exactly sure what it is that FAA is asking. I'll have more information as we get further into the process. That's part of what we're negotiating with the neighbors.
Is there any town match?
No,
This is all from FAA.
and 5% from the state.
Okay.
Mary, is this to mitigate the loss of the trees?
No,
No.
we're not there yet.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? 5-0. Thank you. New business license application, Julie Ambrosa, doing business as Spruce LLC at 49 Water Street. I'll make a motion to approve the business license.
Second.
Any questions from the board? All those in favor? 5-0. Thank you. Wiscasset Public Library request to place fundraising event signs on the town common. Catherine Martin Savage.
This is annual fundraiser that the Friends of the Library, the Wiscasset Library, have every year, or have had every year. And one of the town ordinances requires permission to put any signs on town property, which of course is the town common, and I don't think there's any other town property that we're going to be using. I can't think of any, but we need to ask the board's permission to do so, and they will be up. I think there's a deadline according to the ordinance that they can only be put up, like, for example, on the 19th of August, which is a couple of weeks before the event. The event is Labor Day, Monday, the 3rd of September, and they will be down the next day or within 24 hours of the event. And so I asked the board's permission for us to do that, so we can make some money for the library.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? 4-0-1. Okay.
Judy,
Karen,
Yes.
I've got a question on
Karen,
signage on commons. You go around town during on a weekend, and Catherine has done the right thing, by coming to you people and asking permission to put them up. You go out there on a weekend, and you'll see stuff there, and I don't want to step on my toes here, but I see stuff out there for the Morris Farms and stuff up there. From time to time, they'll have stuff out there. The Lincoln County Jail, there's something up on these are on the commons now. Yard sale, some of the businesses downtown. The issue here is Catherine's doing the right thing for the library, and we got a bunch of people that don't do that, and nothing really seems to happen on that thing. I'm just saying, if one's going to do it, they all ought to do it. I don't think it's that hard for somebody to come and ask you the questions. Most cases, I believe you're all going to say yes, and I would agree. Just to go up there and haphazardly fill them up there, you got yard sale stuff, you got all kinds of stuff that just shows up on the weekends, and they stay there for days. So I don't know how I don't have the answer how to remedy it. Well, I do, but
I thought you were doing a good job taking care of things, seriously. I hear what you're saying on the weekend.
yeah, I'm just because people they come up and they just start throwing stuff down, and then they just walk away. I mean, it's just if one's going to do it, let's all do it. So I know there's nothing you guys can do about it right now, obviously, but I don't know how the heck you even fix it, other than,
Public Works takes them down. I remember last year, Catherine and I both had signs out in the common across from Quick Stop, and Public Works took them down. But because we didn't have permission to do that. I just thought it was something that was allowable, because you always see signs out there, but.
anyway, I don't want to, spend a lot of time on this tonight, and it's getting hot, and everybody wants to go home, but I just wanted to point that out, that it does happen up there, you'll see them, they'll pop up over the weekends. You know, yard sale, Joe Blows, or whatever. If you've got a process, just, I mean, these people, they ought to just come to you and say, you know, may I put it out for the weekend of such and such? I'm sure you're gonna say yes.
Thank you, Steve. Okay.
You need permission. You did it?
We already did it.
You did it. All right, just a second.
You abstained. It's a good thing
I
I
know
wrote
the
it, it's a
keeper.
good thing I wrote it down.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, resignation of Officer James Fisher. You want me to read it, or you want to read it? We have an email from Mr. Fisher. It says, "To whom it may concern, I am hereby putting in my 2 weeks notice of resignation on 7/27/2018. I want to thank the town for the opportunity to serve the community. It is a wonderful department and a wonderful town. It has been my honor to serve the citizens of Wiscasset, and I will miss them. Thank you for this amazing opportunity, James Fisher." I'd like to accept the resignation of Officer James Fisher with regret.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you. Now we have the 2008 Ford Crown Victoria. We want to, Mary wants to deem that a surplus.
I'll make a motion, we declare that surplus.
I'll second it.
I think that was surplus when we got it. But again, we just spent a ton of money on it.
That was gonna be my question with the rack and pinion and all that. How much did that cost?
On the back side, then, put a list on the back side of the
I didn't
title.
give, there's no price on it.
Oh, okay.
Do we have any?
Just a ballpark idea, what we put into it for money.
I didn't even have
I saw bills for parts there, I always spent over $1,000.
Okay, I just think we should maybe put a minimum bid on it.
That's
Oh,
what I was gonna
yeah.
suggest.
Well, I don't really want to keep it.
No, but I don't want just anybody to get it.
So what would be a good minimum bid, $500 or more? I don't know.
If we put $1,000 into it, I'd say $1,000.
Well,
What do you think?
was that given to us?
I'm not sure that was money well spent.
But it wasn't given to us, so.
No, it was not.
We paid for it.
Yes. Kind of
What is the value of a 2008 monthly? Does anybody even think about that?
Kelly will look at it, I don't know.
Yeah, somebody's got a smartphone, can tell you in a minute.
Kelly will look at it, yeah.
Well, let's just put it out there. We can always reject any and all bids if we don't like them. Yes?
Can I suggest you blue book it first and then put it also on Craigslist versus, so you can actually bring in some bids? I think we'll get a little bit more money out of it if we put it on Craigslist and get the word out.
And also, isn't there a local, there's a local marketplace?
Is that-
Marketplace.
Marketplace on Facebook.
Yeah.
But you have to pay for that, I believe.
No,
No, you
Facebook.
don't.
That's-
Marketplace, you do not have
Sign
to.
up and say you want to belong to the Wiscasset, whatever
Yeah,
area,
yeah.
and then just put it on there. It's free.
But thank you for that.
Okay, board, what do you want to
Include
do?
a photo if you can.
So you already did, you declared it surplus. Bob's motion, Kathy second, so just a vote.
Okay. All those in favor? 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Town managers report.
Well, I wanted to take this opportunity this evening to introduce the new code enforcement officer to the board and the members of the public that are here. Bruce Mullins is our new code enforcement officer. Bruce is a Wiscasset resident, and He is also a master plumber, he was interviewed by myself and the chair of the planning board. And so welcome aboard, we're glad to have him. He's on week number 2 and he's still coming back.
Oh, that's positive.
Okay, so that was the first thing. I wanted to make sure that the board saw the nice thank you letter to the Public Works Department. So it's nice to have those 2 this evening, one from Susan Blaggett and one from the Davises. As I mentioned earlier, the airport negotiations are ongoing. We're down to finalizing a lot of the details. I did receive a letter from Sheriff Brackett. I met with him today. And I won't read the entire thing to you, but he basically said that the Sheriff's Department understands the situation of being short-staffed, and they're doing everything they can to assist us temporarily. They have a copy of the police schedule, as you've been made aware. They are covering 86 hours a week for the next 30 days for us, which they understand is a temporary solution for us. If it goes beyond 30 days, we did agree that we would meet and have another conversation about this. And he also said that he's prepared to discuss a long-term solution to policing needs, which he believes would provide significant savings to the town without diminishing the level of police coverage. And so I just wanted to let you know that we do have it in writing, that the Sheriff's Department is covering. Obviously, we're going forward with our process, but I had a good meeting with the sheriff today, so he's well aware of our situation. We received, some of you received communication about the Whites Island Bridge section that had washed out. I spoke with Public Works, and they said the section between the railroad and the mainland, Public Works will remove. Their goal is to remove it by the end of next week. They hope to do it sooner, but Doug didn't want to overcommit because they're doing a lot of their work to get ready for paving. And the other side is a little bit more complex. And they're not sure they have the equipment to access it that easily, but they are talking with folks that may have the equipment in the area to see if they can work that out. The biggest concern is that if we remove all those pilings and remove all of that bridge work, what does that do to our grandfathered status if that is all gone? And so that is why he's been hesitant to remove some of it, because of the change in the DEP rules. He is following up on that to find out.
Well, we certainly do not want to lose that right of way.
Right. So just want you to know that that's ongoing. Did you want to comment on Whites Island?
I just wanted to say that the section from the railway line to Whites Island is, there's like the section closest to Whites Island is down in the water, and I don't know if that's what washed away. But I visited the island with Phil DeVeets and Ann Leslie and a guy from the Bureau of Parks and Lands, because remember you guys talked about us doing that grant to replace the bridges. Mm-hmm. And while we were on the island, a tourist came up the railroad tracks and onto that bridge, and because he saw us there, and he walked up to where it was broken, and I didn't get a real good look, but I don't think it's blocked off. So somebody needs to go and like put up a piece of plywood and say bridge closed at the train tracks, because I think you can just walk right onto it. We went there by kayak, so you know it's safe to go there in a boat. The other thing I was thinking is that if we apply for these funds, we can use the amount of work or the type of materials that we put into removing the bridges as matching funds for a new bridge, but only if we do that after an awarded grant begins. So any work that happens, like if, you know, before we apply and win the grant, we won't be able to count that. So I don't know if, I mean, I don't want to say we leave the bridge there and wait till we get the grant. But if we could do that when we remove the bridge, then that could count as matching funds, just a thought. I don't know if it's possible to pull out just the first panel. I think we brought that up in a meeting before.
They're looking into that and also going to secure it also. So, and he hopes to have that all done by.
But somebody should definitely put up a sign, bridge closed after the train track.
Yes, Steve.
Actually, you're not supposed to be on the train tracks to get to that point anyway. Not to take away from what she's saying, but you're not even supposed to be to that point. You're not supposed, you're not supposed to go from the tracks, from the yacht club, or the other way to White's Island.
Still, the guy did, and he was, you know what I mean?
Well,
Like, if he got hurt on the bridge, I don't think we would say, well, you weren't supposed to be there. We would be liable.
If you're from out of town and you don't know that, these people are gonna know they're not supposed to be on the railroad track. There's no signs that say you can't be on
It's federal law.
it. Is there?
No, yeah.
Anyway, and it wouldn't take much, it's just even yellow.
That doesn't say that we should, I'm not suggesting that we not sign it.
I think Kim brings up a really good point. We don't have to, I mean, I don't know why we have to take what there is there down. Why can't we let this grant process proceed? And, you know, then that work, we might be able to cash that work in later.
Right. But we could secure it. We could secure it better.
Well, yeah, that, no.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I wanted to remind everyone about the community center shutdown. They shut down annually for a week to close the pool and clean it and all that. And it's from 6 p.m. on the 24th of August to September 3rd. They reopen September 4th. Just wanted to remind that the Public Works crew is working on repairing the community center for the paving to take care of the big potholes that have been there for some time. The mulching trees at the airport that we were required to remove, and you folks awarded the bid to the lowest qualified bidder. That work has been complete. And so I wanted to let you know that. Also wanted to speak to the new hour change. As those of you that were part of the process know, this was not brought about by the Board of Selectmen or the manager. This request to change hours came from the union. It was part of a negotiated process. And I will tell you that I have been amazingly surprised at the people that are here at the office between 5 minutes after 7 and 7:30 in the morning. I have been really surprised by that. There are a lot of early birds that get out, and I know that we have also, this is only the second week, but we have, the ladies in the front office have received a lot of thank yous for being open until 5 o'clock. So I just wanted to share that with you. And that's all I have right now.
So question, we're open now from 7 to 5. So it's an 8-hour, it's a 10-hour day, 4 days a week.
Yes,
The employees still get a lunch break,
we do. Yes.
so they're now getting a paid lunch break as part of this.
No, they are here until 5:30. So one of the things that the town did to try to mitigate some of the overtime is allow them to close the doors to the public at 5 so that they could do cash up and their final reports for Moses and all that have to be sent to the state within that last half an hour. And sometimes they do get a customer that comes in at 5 minutes of 5 and they're ended up there working with that person until after 5. So, thank you.
Yes, Kim.
So the comprehensive plan update, I read through the information that was provided, and I just was thinking that, is that something, I assume everybody read that packet, so is that something you want to do? Do you want to talk about appointing a committee?
Well, thank you for that question. I brought this forward based on your inquiry, and Mary Ellen graciously put this information together for us. I think one of the things that we want to do is move forward with it, but I think that we would want to talk with the planning board first to see what thoughts they have on it. Some of them that are on there have been through the process before and have some, what do you say, sage wisdom from their past experience. But yes, I do think that we want to move forward with it. And this is just information on how to do that.
Yeah, I think it's really pressing because I wasn't aware that this is something that's required by law. So until we can update our comprehensive plan, I feel like a lot of these other ordinances are going, we may be at risk of not being able to enforce appropriately because ours, I said, I don't know when it was originally adopted, but I know it's over 12 years old, and it says here that all of the ones in the state that were adopted prior to 2001 do expire December 31st, 2012. I don't know. I feel like we need to get on this because I read in here somewhere it said that if you don't have an approved comprehensive plan, then you can't hold the state accountable to our local laws. And I feel like that would have an impact on the people who are concerned about the historic preservation ordinances. So this is something we should probably move on. And I would like to volunteer to be on the committee.
You could be the chair.
I don't want to be the chair.
Sure you do. But just technically, we want to get other people in the community involved with the comprehensive plan committee.
Absolutely, and I think it might be helpful to put a notice out to let folks know that we're interested in members to participate in this process. And just when you're reading the statute, it sounds pretty scary, but one of the things that our current legislative body did is they disbanded the state planning office and absorbed it into DECD, so they have less staff and less money. And so there have been, am I saying that nicely? And so they used to have funds available to help towns update that, and a lot of those funds have dried up. So that's why they haven't pressed a lot of this, because there are some municipalities that have said this is an unfunded mandate. So while it's important to the town as a vision document moving forward, they're not going to send a comprehensive plan police down. You'll be okay. So we should.
I might just organize the comprehensive plan police myself because we need to do this.
Well, then we need to put something in the paper.
Sure.
Asking if there's any citizens that would like to be part of the committee. And if so, I guess apply or give you their name, or we can do it like we did the PAC, or.
Well, really, it's a lot of work, so if you have folks that have a passion for planning and stuff, I think.
I was going to say, the last time they did it, the town hired a special consultant to oversee the project itself.
There is a fiscal note to it, but.
When you talk about a lot of
To
work, there
facilitate,
is.
yes, there's a lot of work.
Facilitate.
Jim, are you retired? Are you available?
You know, the comprehensive plan is pretty good as it stands. It just needs tweaking and updating. I mean, so they hired a consultant to guide that through. I'm not sure, there's some really talented people in town who can certainly contribute to it, but I don't think it's going to be that painful of a process, because I think it's a really good comprehensive plan. I wish we'd follow it more.
Thank you.
So you feel that a group of people, townspeople, would be able to handle this?
I think initially, unless we run into some blocks, I mean, you've got people who are professional engineers in this town who, you know, are interested, people who've got preservation backgrounds, who've got business backgrounds. I mean, I think there's good talent based people.
Well, let's put it out there to the people and see what we get for response.
I will do that.
Yeah.
And the only other piece of information that you have in your packet, I know that I provided it to you before, but some questions had come up about the airport grants and how many we received and when we received them. And so I did a fair amount of research and went back through to 1988 all the way to 2016. So this is just information, you don't have to do anything with it, but I know some of you had asked about that.
Is there any way to find out what the expiration is on these grants? I understand that they may not all be the same, that they don't have just a schedule that necessarily fits them all, but without having some knowledge of that, you can't do anything with these numbers.
I have sent that question to the FAA in Boston and asked them. I haven't received a response yet, Bob.
Okay, thanks.
Is there anything else? Mr. Ayers and finance? Mr. Ayers and finance?
Oh, just wrong. Yes. I just thought he was happy to be here.
I don't think so.
So, you have in your information that I gave to you, and first let me say that I apologize that you received it late. Ron did submit this to me last week. As you know, I was not here last week unexpectedly. So, I did ask Ron if he would come this evening and speak to the board about the possibility of a forklift replacement. He wrote the memo that's before you, and I will just let Ron speak to that.
Hello, and I am glad to be here. Our forklift has been having issues for a few years, and we've been bringing it along. As this says, on July 17th, it lost another head gasket, and when the town mechanic replaced it, it has no power. It'll move and function, but it'll barely climb from down back to get up around the front. So I would like, instead of spending, $5,100 plus for a new block in this thing, to spend $2,400 and start the purchase of a new machine. That would be my question to you is it all right to trade this machine in and put it out to bid?
You're saying you want to use $2,400 from this year's budget, and then you'll be adding $4,800 into next year's?
Yes, unless we could use the extra revenue I brought in this year of $31,000 and just buy the machine.
Does the board have any questions I'd like to ask?
I think I'd like to know what's wrong with it before I went and replaced it.
Ted said that it was, the pistons and cylinder walls are very scored, and that's why we're losing all the power.
But that's not making the head gasket go. The head gasket shouldn't go repeatedly.
Yes, so whether the block is warped or the new head of 2 years ago is now warped. I just don't want to throw more money at it and have it keep going bad.
Who made that motor?
Mitsubishi.
Catherine?
Is there anybody else that is familiar with this type of thing that could give you some advice? Maybe hire them to come in for $100 or whatever, really look at it and tell you what it really, really needs?
Without tearing the engine down and being without the machine again.
I don't know, of course, I'm not a mechanic, obviously, but
We could spend.
I can see why you don't want to throw another $5,000 plus, but then you look at the price of new ones, start at,
Yeah.
28,000 right on up to almost 35,000, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, instead of throwing a fifth of that price away.
Right, I understand.
Temporary fix.
Just,
It's gonna take 4 months to get a new machine.
What concerns me about it is that the machine was running fine until it started getting antifreeze in the base, and now after it's been fixed, it's not running fine. I think there's something else been done to it. And I think somebody should find out what, and find out if it really needs to be replaced, or whether it can just simply be fixed.
So didn't the town mechanic look at it? And
Town
then be
mechanic
like-
put a head gasket in it.
Yeah, he did the head and cam 2 years ago, and then he just did the head gasket again.
So I don't know, I feel like I defer to the department head's recommendation. I'm not a mechanic either, but, you know, you are, so maybe you.
I mean, you could hire a New England forklift to come up and tear it apart, but it's gonna be.
It's gonna cost us $5,000.
It depends on what he finds, where, and that 5,100 is just the price of the block.
That's
And
not
freight
the
to get it
labor.
here. No. Nope. Nope, just the price of the block and the gasket kit and the freight.
So by the time you add labor into it, you could be up to 7,000-8,000
Yeah, if we had
if,
them do it, yes.
if we did that.
Yes.
I just think we have a department head who's obviously worked on this and done his homework, and he should be able just to run his department. It seems like it's not wildly outside of the budget, and it seems to be the smart choice, and thanks for bringing it to us.
So what are you recommending?
We go with the department head's recommendation, instead of spending $5,100 on a rebuild, let them trade it in, and purchase a new one. Is that what your recommendation is?
Yes,
Then that's
I'd
what
like
we
to
should-
trade it in and start the payments on a new one. 6 payments for this year is gonna be about $2,400.
I just don't know where the line is, like, or where I don't want to micromanage the department head, like, I don't know anything about forklifts, and he's the expert. And it's his budget, and he's inside of it, it seems like.
By taking the 2,400 out of your budget, is that going to strap you? Do you think?
It would be a lot worse to take $5,100 out. of the
I
budget.
understand that, but I don't want it to be a situation where
We should be
8
good.
months
I
down the
mean,
road, you're telling me, oh, we're going to overrun that budget.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't carry over, but I had left $2,432 last year, so.
Okay, all right.
I should be able to, hope the markets are good for metal and cardboard still and everything.
Okay.
Prices don't go up on diesel too bad.
What's the board's pleasure? I need a motion or something. What do you want to do?
I move that we authorize Ron Lear, the transfer station manager, to trade in his forklift and purchase a new one.
Do I have a second?
I think we ought to have the town manager give it to the town mechanic and see if we can have somebody take a look at it and find out what's really wrong with it.
I agree with Bob. I mean, that's an awful lot of money.
Ben, what do you think?
I don't know anything about it, but
Well, I don't have a problem with town mechanic looking at it. I thought you said that you had $31,000 in more revenue. Did I miss?
I brought in an extra $31,000 in revenue last year.
Do you want scheduled to do that again?
I can't predict my crystal ball how cardboard prices and metal and people bringing stuff to the station is gonna be. You know, I hope to bring in extra every year, but.
Well, I know, I'm just trying to nail this down.
Yes, yes. I know.
My question is, if we were to say, okay, let's have the town mechanic look at it again, I know not, I'm like Kim, I know nothing about, I'm lucky I put gas in my car. But, to find a problem, he'd probably have to take the engine out, is that what you're trying to say? Or,
Probably at least pull the head again, which will lay it out for a few more days. And it is something that we use, you know, about every 20 minutes. You gotta dump a single stream, you gotta move stuff around. It's one of the most used pieces of equipment I have.
okay, I'm not saying I'm against it, okay? So I'll say that right from the beginning. But we are meeting next Tuesday. Is there any way the mechanic could do something between now and next Tuesday? And bring it back to us?
him or somebody else that's in town that knows what would be done, I would think.
To definitely try and pinpoint exactly what's wrong with it.
I don't know if anybody can work on that short of a schedule. I know Ted's been working on the ambulances and stuff.
Didn't you say that it would take 4 months before you, if you ordered a new one or wanted to buy it, it would take 4 months
Yeah, it's gonna.
to get a new one? So you're gonna have to deal with what you've got if you're gonna go and buy one. So I don't think a week or even 2 or 3 weeks is gonna make that much difference before we make a decision. But I think we have to at least know what, maybe it could be fixed.
And depending on which company we give the
Yeah.
bid to, they will provide us with a pre-loaner if something happens to us while we're waiting for the new machine to show up.
Yes, Jim?
Couldn't you lease locally a forklift temporarily while you're checking the one we own out first? That way operations aren't held back, but you've got a backup piece of equipment?
We use the sewer department's forklift when we can. It doesn't have the fourth valve to control our bail point for loading and shipping cargo.
No, I'm just saying, but couldn't the town lease one from an equipment company until we know 100%?
Probably 90% of the machines aren't gonna have that fourth valve to run that bail plant. But that's the issue with order. If we wanted a standard machine, they got one anyway. So we need it for a specific job. We are going to order that sort of thing.
We don't know the expenditures for this department in regards to capital improvement, the trailers and that kind of stuff.
Most of his equipment purchases are in his actual operation budget because the cost of this, remember, is shared by the 2 other communities and the town. So he doesn't really
He
draw
doesn't have
from
any,
capital.
okay, that answers that.
And the cost of this forklift would be shared by the rest of the towns too, correct?
Yes.
Okay, what are we doing with it, guys?
There's a motion now.
I know. Has it been seconded?
No,
I thought it was.
No, Kim made a motion.
Kim made the motion.
Oh, I thought you did it.
Well, I'll make a motion then that we have the town manager get with the town mechanic and see if we can find somebody that is familiar with these Caterpillar machines and find out what's wrong with it. A diesel that's got no power, it's not too hard to figure out what's wrong with it.
Yeah, it's propane, so I'm not still.
Well, yeah, it's either, lack of fuel, lack of compression, valve issue.
Yeah, that's what Ted was leaning toward, lack of compression and possibly something with the head. But
Well, that's my thought. If I took my forklift somewhere and had a head gasket put in it and came back and it didn't run, I wouldn't go buy a new one.
Right, we have a motion, but it's not been
I'll
seconded.
second this motion.
Okay. The motion was to have the town mechanic look at it again?
Town
Or have
manager
someone-
get with the town mechanic and find somebody to look at it.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? 4-1. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Ron.
Okay, anything else? Do we have any other board business? Yes, Catherine.
I know that Steve Christensen and the road crew received a letter from the Davises, but I wanted to thank you in public for the work that you and your crew did for that parking lot on Middle Street, on Water Street, rather. I've heard nothing but terrific remarks from all kinds of people who think they can't believe it was really even there. So you made a silk purse out of a sow's ear. Thank you.
We went down there to do a weed whacking job and then,
Yeah,
but
well,
there was a lot of garbage and stuff in there, so we just, and I'm just the only reason my name was mentioned because they know me, but I did it with the crew of the
Oh, I
guys
know you
from
did
the
it with the
department,
crew.
and we're just glad to get it. We got a little bit more work to do in there, but.
I thank you on behalf of all the people that told me about it.
Thank you. Yes, Mary Lou.
Mary Ellen Barnes, Second County Regional Planning. I just want to ask, following up on behalf of Jean, whether the board will pick up her request and interest in having the town involved in a new committee. Did you talk about that tonight or likely next week?
I think we'll probably be putting it on the agenda
Okay.
at some point, yes.
She was starving, so I said I would.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to make a motion for the board to enter an executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA 4056A.
Second.
All those in favor?
Madam Chair, will there be a vote at the end of this?
No, there will be none.
We won't make you sit in the hallway.
I appreciate it.
Good night, all.